Hello, this is the Daily Forex Report for November 4th. We're looking at the U.S.-Japanese yen pair first. This particular pair has closed down for the previous session. We are looking for it to continue moving sideways overall. This particular pair, we're looking for it to move possibly up to 81.57, possibly down to 80.11. Look for some resistance around 81.60. And look for some support around 80.60. Okay, now looking at the Euro-USD pair. This particular pair closed higher. Did pull back significantly from the highs, but still closed higher. Looking for it to continue moving overall to the upside. Look for some resistance around 142.95. And if it pulls back, look for some support around 141.05. Now the pound-US dollar pair surged to the upside, closed higher. Moving to the upside now. Look for it to potentially go as high as 163.80, possibly moving down to 0.6005. Look for some resistance around 163.00 and look for some support around 161.75. Now the US Swiss, this pair dove to the downside, closed lower overall, starting to get close to previous areas of support, so definitely keep an eye on that. This pair potentially could move higher and hit some resistance around 0.9695, possibly hitting some support around 0.9525. Okay, well, as far as news analysis go, we have the Bank of Japan releasing their target rate decision for November. Tomorrow, no time. Consensus is they're going to hold rates at 0.10%. We also have the Canadian dollar releasing their net change in employment for October at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Consensus on that is that it's moved from a negative 6.6K to a positive 15K. We also have the Canadian unemployment rate for October. Looks like that's being released at 7. Consensus is they're going to hold rates at 8%. We also have the U.S. non-farm payroll at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time for October. Consensus on that is that it has moved from a negative 95K up to a 60K, which of course would be good news. Good news for the U.S. dollar. We also have unemployment rate holding at 9.6%. Well, as far as what I'm looking for during this next session, look at the U.S. Swiss. Let me back out a little bit. You can see that it has really dove down to the downside pretty strong, and we're getting into an area that it found support at previously and then moved higher. So let's take a look at what our fib lines say as far as a potential retracement. Looks like we have a good ways to go before we would hit our 23%. It could happen during this next session, or it could take a little bit to get there. If it does get there, we're going to have a pretty small window as far as potential to make a trade on this. That's why the smaller, when you use the Fibonacci retracement, Fibonacci fan, it's better to do it over more bars than just 1, 2, 3, 4, and then look for a retracement. Your window gets much, much smaller. When you back out a little ways, at that point you have more room. Let's zoom back in. You can see the pound here is moving higher. Zoom out. You can see where we are now. This area beforehand, we found some resistance here and some support at these levels, but we're getting to an area where there's potential for previous support, at least at this point. So we'll have to see that, see if it goes to that point. That's roughly about 160 pips. So I could see it surge, continue the surge up to this point, and at that around that area, 160 pips from the close today or the high from today, I could see it come back down. So just keep an eye on this. As this moves higher, we need to be aware that it could pull back at that point. Kind of what that looks like, I mean, from a Fibonacci standpoint, if we go back to it, taking the low, You know, that could mean, let me shrink this up a little bit. And I normally don't do this, but just kind of just to kind of get an idea here. 150 pips from here would be roughly around this point. So you can see that if we go up to this point, we'll be right around where we are now as far as a pullback for the first pullback. So it'll be interesting to see if we reach that over the next session or not. Anyway, those are some places to be wary of if the market does surge higher and then pull back. Let's take a look at the Euro USD kind of on a little bit longer time frame as well. You can see here we basically have run right into where we had consolidation before. Previous areas of support could now be resistance, so we could get a pullback to the downside at this point. We also have areas here as well, so be aware that we are in an area that you need to be concerned about the market retracing. If it does retrace, it probably will retrace back down to this point. Right here we have an area of resistance, 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 all in the same area. So this would be a good place to potentially sell short right here at this high and look for it to tag that low. So basically grabbing those pips between would be roughly a 100 pip move. Well, that about wraps us up for today. Until next time, this is Jason Fielder. Good trading.